So, hello, good afternoon. My name's Richard, and welcome to the online drop-in meditation at Nottingham Buddhist Centre. We'll get started quite shortly. So, I'm here in the shrine room at the centre. Probably, if you are a regular, you've been up here many times, and if you haven't, very welcome. Yeah, we're still running mostly online offering at the moment. So we're doing quite a lot of classes online, dropping meditations, synchronized exclusively on YouTube and Zoom. And we're still looking at ways that we can sort of reopen the centre at some point, hopefully in the not too distant future. What that might look like, we're not sure yet. Yeah, do try to stay in touch with as much as you can on the website, and just keep an eye on the updates, because it'd be very great to see everyone again. This has been a very different experience living here without having this constant stream of people coming in, and the studio is a very inspiring thing to have everyone around, and it's been just us in the community and a few people coming in to do odd jobs, and that's it really. So it's very much looking forward to having everyone back. So do try and stay in touch while we're officially closed anyway, in the non-virtual world. So today we're going to do the Metta Bhavana. That's what we're on Tuesday. I'm going to be working on Fridays from now on, so I won't be doing this session again for a while maybe. So Karen Abacha will be back next week, and hopefully that'll be a regular thing with Karen Abacha on Friday. Like I say, my name's Richard. If you've been here a few times, you've probably seen me around. I live in the community upstairs. I teach this class every now and again, or fairly regularly anyway, and contribute in other ways. So you've almost certainly seen me around if you've been here before. So I'll just say something fairly brief about how we run the place, and then we can start talking a bit more about meditation. So we try to operate here what's called a dana economy. Dana is just an old Indian word that means generosity, and it just means that we're entirely reliant on donations from the people who come here. We don't have an income stream coming from anywhere else. We're just a small independent charity, and that's actually kept us running for 25 years here. So it works, but we do rely on people giving us money to keep our activities going, basically. So if you are able to make a donation and you feel that you want to do that, there is a button on our website which takes you to a donation page, and you can make a donation there. If you do want to gift aid it, gift aid is just a government scheme that allows small charities who rely on small donations to claim some tax back on that. And that makes quite a big difference to us over the year. So if you're a UK taxpayer and you do want to do that, then yeah, please fill in a form on our website, and we can help you to negotiate your way through that. Okay, so we'll just say a little bit about posture, then we can talk about the meditation. Chances are you've found a good posture for a home meditation. So I won't go into this too much because it's going to be difficult for you to work out, how you're sitting exactly. But just a few principles really. If you try to sit upright if you can, there's nothing particularly wrong with lying down in meditation. The drawback with that is that you can become sleepy. That's certainly my experience anyway. If I'm lying down and I'm perfectly still with my eyes closed, I'm kind of, my mind and body sort of go into sleep mode. That's fairly common. Ideally you should be in a kind of upright posture, but you're not looking to be sort of rigidly upright or putting your body under any strain really. What you're looking for is a posture that you can maintain, that you can become relaxed in, but also won't require too much maintenance, too much effort on your part to keep that posture in place. So quite a solid grounded, I'm sitting astride some cushions here. It's a very solid base to sit on. I'm not having to make any effort at all to stay upright. My spine, my shoulders and my rib cage all just kind of naturally want to support me. So I can get relaxed in that posture. And also it won't cause me any pain. So a couple of things to look out for. If you're in pain already, that's probably going to get worse during meditation. It's not like it'll just disappear. Chances are your body's telling you to act on something. So have a look at what's causing you pain, what you can do about that. And also, if your body is trying to support itself with a lot of effort, you can usually tell if your base is not very solid, if your core muscles are working hard, basically. If they're working hard to keep you upright, it probably means that that's going to get worse as the meditation goes on. So you should really start thinking about how to just keep relaxed, whether you can change that slightly. So there's just a little bit of hammering going on at the moment, which I think is going to be quite loud. So I'm just going to pop downstairs and I'm just going to ask them to not do that. So back in. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Taking the opportunity to refurbish the front, at least the ground floor anyway, of the building. It's very, very sort of overdue. So we've got someone volunteering to come in and help us to do that. So hopefully that's going to start looking really nice quite soon, I think. Okay, so yeah, that's posture. Just make sure you can relax. Make sure your body isn't working too hard to keep itself upright. And that's all you can really do at the moment. So today's meditation, Metta Bhavana. And Metta means loving kindness. Bhavana means to cultivate. So we're going to be looking for positivity in our experience, positive emotion. And we can cultivate that by spending more time with it. We can identify it in our experience. And once we start to do that, we can start to really help it to grow, help it to emerge much more sort of fully. So one of the reasons we do this in the Buddhist world, there are three things that kind of drive around existence: greed, hatred, and delusion. I won't go too much into those, but really they're very sort of self-directed emotions or drivers of life. You know, we sort of want more from the world, which is the greed element. The hatred is that we have an aversion towards things that we don't particularly want, maybe. And delusion is where we kind of misconceive the world based on those likes and dislikes. One thing that's very interesting about Metta, I just did a retreat week before last based on Metta Bhavana, and one thing that was coming out of that is that Metta, loving kindness, is a very wise emotion. In that sense that it takes us into a reality other than our own reality, this kind of self-directed greed, hatred type way of being, basically. And what that does, though, when we do that, we don't just sort of challenge those things in the world and then remain the same. What we do when we start to do the Metta Bhavana, when we start to cultivate this loving kindness, is we commit to being on a path of transformation. Every time we meditate, that's what we're doing. We're working on our own transformation. And one important thing that comes out of that a lot of the time is that when you're working with greed and hatred, what we think of as happiness is when we're away from things we don't like and when we're with things we do like. And we think of that as happiness. But we can't always rely on that because obviously we lose contact with things we do like. And sometimes we're forced into contact with things we don't like. So it's very difficult for us to keep that mechanism working on a sort of simple personal level of I need to get what I want. What happens in the Metta Bhavana is that our conception of what happiness is actually changes. We start to look beyond ourselves for happiness. And that's quite a sort of maybe a counterintuitive thing. Although I guess if you've been practicing the Metta Bhavana for a while, it's going to make a lot of sense already. Is that, once we started to do this, we start to realise that we're connected to the world in a much more varied way, and a much more rewarding way, actually, than just greed and hatred. What do I want? What don't I want? All of this kind of stuff. And actually, in some ways, that for me anyway, that is a kind of almost like a burdensome way to live your life. Having this kind of self-narrative running all the time that needs to be maintained and taken seriously all the time. Sometimes it's just, it's really nice actually to do something else, if that makes any sense. That's what I'll say about it for now. But just be aware as well that sometimes when people talk about meditation in terms of karma, they talk about meditation as being a weighty karma, as in it has a lot of impact. There's a long tail to doing a meditation. It's not like you have a meditation and you might feel great and then you stop and then other things happen. No, that meditation continues to work a long time after you've got off the cushion, so to speak. So in karmic terms, meditation is an extremely important activity. Even if when you're sitting on the cushion, you might be thinking, well, I'm not feeling much, or I can't concentrate, or I'm not good at this, or any of those stories that come up. Actually, there's always an effect from meditation. It has this long tail of karmic sort of consequences and very beneficial consequences as well. So I'll say a little bit about that after we've meditated, actually, because it's worth taking those feelings out after you've meditated as well. So the way we do this meditation, we do it by bringing people to mind. One of the reasons we do that is because the way we are with people is very powerful. And it often shows us what our emotional state is like or what our tendencies can be like. And hi Simon, no problem at all. And so it shows us what our tendencies can be like. And one thing that's very, very important to do in the Metta Bhavana is to really, really spot where you're starting from. Not just at the beginning of the meditation, but that's very important, but also for every stage. So when I introduce a person that we're going to bring to mind, I'll just ask us to really look at what happens when we bring that person up. Because what we're doing there is we're looking at the energy of that response and we're trying to transform it with metta, with loving kindness. We're trying to turn our energies towards something much more beneficial. So that's a really the way we're going to really sort of repeat our way through that meditation, really. And one of the reasons we do that is that if we just have metta, loving kindness, as this ideal, and we think, well, regardless of how I'm feeling, or I'm not even going to look at my experience, I'm just going to try to feel this good thing, that can just become a fantasy. We're not transforming ourselves. We're just sort of living in I don't know what kind of world it would be, but it's this kind of slightly idealized fantasy world. And it doesn't reach down into what we're doing. So it may be that when we bring a difficult person to mind, there's quite a bit of hate there. But that's a really good thing to be able to look at. If you can look at that within yourself and say, actually, I want to transform this. I don't want any more of this. Then you can look at that and you can work with that and transform it. And that's really what the process of transformation is about in meditation. So we're going to look at it in those terms as well. So we do 5 stages in this meditation, but don't worry if you've not done it before, because I'll give you plenty of input on each stage. I won't always be saying a lot, because some people like quite a quiet sit. Some people prefer a lot of guidance. So I try to do a bit of both and just won't keep everyone happy, but we'll try. So the stages are, in the first stage, we bring ourselves to mind. I think traditionally this was considered to be something that we would find easy. In these days of being very living in consumer societies, which encourage us to be in some way unhappy, that's not always straightforward. So if you do have quite a complex or quite difficult relationship with yourself, that's just something that we're going to be trying to become more aware of, and we're going to bring metta to that, we're going to bring loving kindness to that. So again, just try to be as aware of yourself as you can, really, and not be too judgmental, anything like that. So the second stage, we bring to mind a good friend, a little bit more of a straightforward stage. So the way I think about it is if someone walked into the room, we all know people like this, if they walked into a room, you just smile straight away. You don't have to think about that smile, you don't worry about whether you're going to do it or not. They appear and you're happy. So we may not know anyone quite like that at the moment, but we've probably known someone like that in the past. So have a think about someone who has that effect on you, and then you could probably put them in that stage. So they'd be the good friend stage. Third stage is the neutral person. Now, that person shouldn't be too abstract. Someone you can get a good visual sense of is probably good enough. You don't need to have met them. You don't need to know anything at all about them. Ideally, you won't have any like or dislike. So it could be, say, somebody at work who you do see very frequently, but you just have no interaction with. It could be someone maybe on public transport, or just someone who lives in your street, a few houses away, but you've never really met them. But you've sort of got a good sense of what they look like and the kind of things that they do. So that's a good neutral person, really. So after that, we do what's called the enemy, or the difficult person. So don't pick your arch enemy, or someone who's giving you an overwhelmingly difficult time, because it may be just too difficult to do, basically. So try to pick someone who's maybe in the middle ground somewhere. They might even be a good friend, and then they've annoyed you a bit. So just try to pick someone that you can work with, basically. And again, they shouldn't be someone too abstract. They should be someone that you actually know. So don't pick maybe a politician or a celebrity who's annoying. Just don't do that because you don't know enough about them. You won't be able to engage with them on any kind of real level, I don't think. After we've done that, we do the last stage, the fifth stage, whereby we bring all four people into our mind at the same time, ourselves, the good friend, the neutral person, the difficult person. And we try to equalise this sense of wishing them well, wishing them loving kindness. Now, what that's doing there really is it's a very good example of going beyond our personal preferences. It's going beyond the world of kind of me. And it's just wishing everyone well because they are a human being. And that's a very powerful way of looking at it. You wish for them what you would wish for yourself. And that's a real challenge to this kind of greed and hatred dynamic as well, because we want to divide the world up on some level into things we want and things we don't want. It helps us to orient ourselves in the world, but we don't have to do that all of the time, particularly in meditation. And then we start to radiate out loving kindness to all beings throughout the world without any limits. So you can go where you like with that. You can just limit that to wherever you live, or you could be out across the country or around the world. It's just it's radiating out of this positive emotion. And in that stage, really, it feels like making a lot of effort, but actually, just try to feel that other people are wishing that for you as well. Just try to connect with other people who are doing the Metta Bhavana. It's very, there's people do this around the world. It's these in the Buddhist world, particularly, these meditations are quite common. So there's probably people around the world doing this meditation as we're doing it right now. And just try to tune into what they're sending out as well. We're sending out metta, and other people are receiving it. And we can do the same. We can receive that too. So I'll just say one final thing, and then we can get started. The phrases that I use are may you be well, may you be happy, may you be free from suffering. So if you're just sort of struggling to feel anything in the meditation or engage with it really, I'll just drop those phrases in, and then maybe you can repeat them to yourself, wishing health and freedom and happiness to the person in whichever stage we're in. And the reason we do that phrase really is because that is what every being wants, really. From our perspective, we may think that other people do it in a very crazy way and we don't understand it and all of that sort of stuff. But actually, they want to be well, they want to be happy, they want to be free, they want to be healthy. All of these very sort of fundamental human things that we all want. So we can just wish them that, and then we'll see what happens when we do that, really. So I'll be quiet for a bit and we'll meditate. So we'll start with a body scan, and that won't take too long, only a few minutes, just to help us to just check what's happening. Again, just see where we're starting from. That's really what that's all about. And then we can start the meditation. So if you do feel comfortable and you feel like you can relax and stay alert on some level, so just gently close your eyes. And just tune into how we're feeling. What's the feeling tone of our experience? What's right in the foreground? Maybe a bodily sensation, could be an emotional state, could be a state of mind, could be a lot of thoughts, or imagery or memory or something like that. Just noticing what's right in the foreground of what's happening. Because most likely this is what we'll be working with in this meditation. This is where we'll be starting from. And don't worry too much if you find some negativity, you may be anxious, you may be a bit annoyed by something. Just don't worry about the actual content too much. Particularly about judging yourself on it or anything like that. Just be aware that this is what's happening for you. So now we can start to tune into our bodily experience. When we look for the breath, we can find the experience that we call the breath. Just noticing its rhythm, its quality. It might be quite deep and smooth. It might be quite short and irregular. Just tuning into its rhythm. Following the small changes that the breath makes in the body. It's maybe a feeling down in the diaphragm, some internal sensations within the body. Could be some subtle changes in the pressure of where you're sitting. The body makes small adjustments all the time when we breathe. So just try to tune into those and track them a little bit. And now try to see if we can feel a faint trace of a pulse anywhere in the body. Maybe in the hands, maybe somewhere in the head, down in your feet. It's like the breath is another simple rhythm of the body we may not normally tune into. And now we can start to sense some tingling energy in the body somewhere. Again, you may notice this in the very sensitive parts of your body, your hands, your feet, your face. Just looking for the small changes in sensation that appear in the body. Now we can bring awareness to sensations of temperature. Some parts of our body will be warmer than others. Maybe some sensation of air across the skin. And now we can bring awareness to how our clothing is feeling on our body. And now we can scan our body for points of tension. Sometimes we can hold tension in our bodies, in our muscles. And just see if you can locate anywhere in your body that's doing that at the moment. Sometimes it's around the hands or the mouth. Sometimes around the jawline and the neck. So wherever it is for you, just try to look at that tension. Do what you can to try and ease that tension, bringing a sense of softness and relaxation to that part of the body. So now going back to what's right in the foreground of our experience, how we're feeling. We can begin the Metta Bhavana by bringing ourselves to mind. Whatever first arose there, just paying attention to what happens when we bring ourselves to mind. And start to cultivate an intention. Wishing ourselves well, wishing ourselves happiness and freedom. Taking an active interest in our well-being. may help to bring to mind all of the times that you act in your own best interests, that you're kind to yourself. And this can be simple. You feed and clothe yourself, you make yourself comfortable, and even committing to meditate is an act of kindness towards yourself. You want to grow and develop, you want to be well, happy and free. If you find yourself becoming distracted, just come back to the body, back to this intention for ourselves to be well, to be happy, to be free from suffering. Wherever we find a positive emotion, just try to stay with that feeling, explore it, allow it to develop, allow it to get strong. So now in the second stage, we bring to mind a good friend. Again, just notice what happens when we bring this person to mind. And whatever it was that we found when we brought this person to mind, we meet that with loving kindness, with metta, wishing them well, wishing them happiness, wishing them freedom. they be well, may they be happy, may they be free from suffering. So now in the third stage, we bring to mind a neutral person, someone we can get a good sense of. We don't know them particularly, we don't like them, we don't dislike them. And again, just see what happens when we bring this person to mind. Maybe that we don't feel that much because we don't know them, but don't worry about that. We can still wish them well, wish them happiness, wish them freedom. And it may be that free from this need to like or dislike or know something about this person, that our metta can flow towards them unobstructed our own preferences, our own aversions. Just allowing metta to go beyond our own preference. Allowing metta to take in a reality other than our own. We're becoming a bit distracted, caught up in our thoughts. Just come back to our bodily sensations, the feelings that arise when we bring to mind a neutral person. And if we still can't feel much in this stage, maybe just go back to the earlier stages a little bit, thinking about the kind. Maybe just go back to the earlier stages a little bit, thinking about the kinds of feelings that arose for yourself and for a good friend. And direct those feelings towards the neutral person. So now in the fourth stage, we bring to mind a difficult person. This could be someone that's very close to us, but which there's some sort of tension with them maybe, or some difficulty. In this sense, they may have provoked a little bit of hatred in us. It might be quite mild in some ways, but there's some sort of aversion there. So again, just notice what happens when you bring this person to mind. The kinds of responses that are possible for you. You may not like those responses, but you can transform them. And staying with that initial feeling of bringing a difficult person to mind, we can start to meet that feeling with metta, loving kindness. May they be well, may they be happy, may they be free from suffering. So now in the final stage, we bring all four people to mind. Good friend, ourselves, the neutral person, the difficult person. And going beyond our likes and dislikes, our attraction for some and our aversion to others, we start to shine metta down on all of them equally, acknowledging that they are all a reality in their own right. They exist beyond our likes and dislikes. And we can wish them well, we can wish them happiness, we can wish them freedom from suffering. And now from just this small group of people, we can expand outwards, radiating this feeling of loving kindness out into the world, to include all the people around us, wherever we live, people that we share our household with, people I share our street with. Expanding further and further out, across the town or village or city, wherever you are. Wishing all beings well, all beings happiness, all beings freedom from suffering. Expanding further and further out to include all the people in the country, all people around the world, in all directions. And also tuning in to the metta that's being generated by other people, receptive to feeling that coming from outside. The influence of all beings who are wishing everyone well. Now, as we approach the end of the meditation, just bringing our awareness a bit closer back to home, back to ourselves, how we're feeling. Maybe noticing a sense of contrast between how we feel at the start of the meditation, how we feel now. Tuning into the sense of transformation within meditation, the effects of the practice. Just relaxing any sense of effort, staying open and receptive to the benefits of meditation. And then when you feel ready, just gently open your eyes and bring the meditation to a close. Okay, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for making a contribution by being here as well. Very important. I'll be back next Tuesday evening. Maybe Paul, actually, it might be Paul next week. So you have a little break from there. So if you do feel able to make a donation, very, very grateful for anything that you can give us at the moment. And I'll just leave you with a little reflection on what we talked about earlier about the sort of weighty karma of meditation. Just try to tune into the benefits of meditation while you're off the cushion. Noticing how you are in the world is a really important kind of feedback on your meditation practice. I've had some quite strong experiences with that myself, thinking, oh, actually, yeah, I do things very differently now. I've built up a meditation practice over the years, and in a lot of ways, well, better as well. So yeah, just do try to tune in and be receptive to the benefits of meditation. And okay, have a good weekend and have a great week. If I don't see you next week, I'll probably be back the week after. And enjoy your meditations in the meantime. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.